I'd be stunned if Russell Wilson retires too, but I don't think it's the worst idea. He's made over $300 million in salary playing NFL football. Certainly got plenty he can do after his career. The last 3 years have gone poorly. I just don't get it, but I'd be surprised if he hung it up. I think he still feels like he has something to prove. I'm just not sure he has the ability left to prove it.
All right, and then Bartholomew, let's come back to you. Aaron Rodgers, should he run it back or retire?
What do you think, Ross? Run it back, baby! Well, I'll tell you what. Listen, I was contractually obligated last year to watch every Jet snap.
Yeah.
And to me, it wasn't Aaron Rodgers that was done. It was Tyron Smith that was done. The damage that happened to Aaron Rodgers in the first 4 games made him a shell of himself. When Olu Fashanu came in, we saw glimpses of the Aaron Rodgers right there. Glimpses of the old Aaron Rodgers of old once he felt like his blind side was protected.
So let's talk about the exact numbers that Rodgers put up. All right, Cindy, so for what it's worth, there's been so much talk about Rodgers, and almost none of it is about football. And I completely understand that because
I like this
he talks about and does so many things that have nothing to do with football. The reality is these are the numbers that he put up last year, and those are the numbers Patrick Mahomes put up last year.
So before
before anyone says that we're suggesting Aaron Rodgers is better than Patrick Mahomes, which of course we're doing no such thing, we are merely saying that if the entire conversation about Aaron Rodgers was a football conversation, it would be a pretty easy discussion. He's certainly good enough to play for someone in the NFL. The point, Graziano, is that it is not a football conversation when it comes to Aaron, or at least it is much more than just a football conversation.
It doesn't have to be. Look, he's 41 years old. His first season with the Jets, he missed it due to injury. His second season, he fought through some injuries and put up some, average number. I mean, like the 48 QBR is average. No, like QBR, 0 to 100, 50's average. His was 48. So a tick below average in terms of that metric. So you're getting a guy who's 41. You don't know what his health is going to be like. His performance, you put up the total numbers, but Bart was contractually obligated to watch every snap. It wasn't consistent week to week, right?
Right.
And that's the issue when you have an older player. That's going to happen. So if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, you have to know what you're getting. Mm-hmm. You have to feel really good about your backup quarterback situation, right? You have to feel really good about the rest of your roster, which the Jets maybe mistakenly did when they brought Aaron Rodgers in. So it has to be, I think, the exact right situation, and I don't think that's really even saying anything negative about Rodgers at this point in his career.
So I said this a week and a half ago before I left on vacation, that in New Orleans, the rumor mill was abuzz with the following. Again, I'm not reporting it. I can't help but notice that other people seem to be now just hearing about it. I said this 2 weeks ago, that the rumor, every single person you talked to in New Orleans, Tim, said that if Matt Stafford goes to the Giants, Aaron Rodgers goes to the Rams. That was the rumor I was hearing hot and heavy in New Orleans. I'm not telling you what's going to happen, but I'm asking you if it makes sense. If Stafford, we opened the show by talking about Stafford possibly leaving. If Stafford winds up out of L.A., does Rodgers make sense to you there, Tim?
He could. It wouldn't be my first choice because I think you're getting worse. You're getting older. You're getting less mobile. And so, like, if your starting point is Stafford, you're getting worse at the position by moving to Rodgers at this point. And so that's why I think that Rodgers ends up being a low priority free agent, meaning when the dust settles, the musical chairs game is over at quarterback, the draft is come and gone. What are the spots where Rodgers goes in and that organization sees him as a benefit to their, 2025 season? I mean, I think that's where Rodgers is at this point. I don't think it's, the Rams are looking at it and saying, you know what? Like, we feel good about that to go to Aaron Rodgers at this point. Like, I don't think that's what it is. Look, when you consider age, injury history, and the fact that he just really can't move anymore.
That's a long way off, right, Bart? I mean, the draft is a really, really long way off.
It is.
But it's tough for us to have that narrative about Aaron Rodgers and not have the same narrative about Kirk Cousins, because I think he played better coming off of the Achilles injury than Kirk Cousins did. So if Kirk Cousins is going to be in the conversation, whether it's going to Cleveland, maybe going down and reuniting with some of the coordinators that he had, then I think Aaron Rodgers should still be in it. I did see a mobile Aaron Rodgers, especially in the New England game and in certain games. So I think that we have to consider maybe it was the fact that the Jets were dysfunctional not, something that
They rewrote. I mean, dysfunctional doesn't begin to tell the story of what they were from a coaching perspective last year. Final thought.
I think the Rams are a very interesting possibility for Aaron Rodgers if they break up with Matthew Stafford. I think it would have some appeal to Aaron, and I think it would have some appeal to Sean McVay and the Rams.
Okay, well, let's leave it there for the moment. We'll see.
Going to be waking up as a quarterback next season. Still a Ram for now, despite the team giving his representation permission to gauge interest outside of L.A. for the 37-year-old Super Bowl winner. He does still have 2 years left on the extension he signed after helping L.A. win the Super Bowl in his first season with the Rams after 12 in Detroit. $4 million guaranteed in 2025, none guaranteed after that. So 2 years left, 37 years young. Matthew Stafford can certainly still spin it. Is it worth the hassle? Well, only one man can answer that question. Tim Hasselbeck in the building. Tim, is it worth the hassle for the Rams to trade Matthew Stafford?
I don't believe it is, Gary, and I understand that, Stafford probably feels like he's underpaid, and, the Rams are acknowledging that they're going to need to do something with his contract. But when your starting point is Matthew Stafford, who's been an absolute warrior for the Rams, it's a lot easier to get worse than better at the position. And so while there will be quarterback movement in the league this year, Matthew Stafford can still play. You just said he can spin it. The physical skills really haven't diminished, and I think because of that, the Rams are going to be better off moving forward with Stafford at the moment.
Sure. All right, let's stay with the quarterbacks. This next one, not going to be cheap any way you split it. Is it worth the hassle for the Vikings to bring back Sam Darnold?
I really believe that it is worth it. Look, Darnold is a young player that proved that he can play at a really high level. And, when you have a guy that's not yet 30, that's able to do what Sam did in that offense, to me, that's still better than the unknown of a rookie quarterback that's, or a first-year quarterback coming off an ACL injury. You don't know if he can play. And so with that, I would build around Sam Darnold. You wouldn't be allocating too much money to the quarterback position. He fits what they're doing in Minnesota, and I would keep him right there.
I think the young thing gets lost on a lot of people. Sam Darnold, been in the league forever, still younger than Joe Burrow. All right, it's Combine Week, which means the NFL Draft taking center stage. Tim, worth the hassle to draft Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders?
I think there's still a lot of time in the evaluation process, but I would say, yes, it is worth it in terms of Cam Ward. There are just some uncommon characteristics about Cam Ward's game and path that I think are going to be hard to deny in the process. First of all, he got an elite arm. He's got an elite and uncommon calm in the pocket and awareness in the pocket. That stuff is very important. And then I think beyond that, his path is really remarkable, from Incarnate Word to Washington State to what he did at Miami. The best thing you can ever say about a quarterback is he makes the guys around him better. And I think that when you look at Cam and his path, he's done exactly that at all of his different spots, which is going to be really attractive as people evaluate him and how he projects to the next level.
A zero-star recruit, Ward trying to be the first Miami quarterback taken first overall.